Hi. Hello, world. Hello, my fellow artists, my friends around the world. Hi. We're the International Art Alliance. We're creating the Palimpsest project. We send a layer of art to each other physically around the world for each other to work on consecutively. And we meet every Thursday. We have Denise in Quebec, Canada, and we have Rose, who's working vacation in Trinidad, and Laura in the United Kingdom, and Cheryl in Australia, and Stephanie in Toronto. I'm Ross in Los Angeles. Today we have a topic that's kind of on the heels of the topic that we had last week. Last week we were talking about what's the worst thing you've ever heard, the worst crushing criticism you've ever heard about your artwork. Now this week, rejection. What a fun topic. What a fun topic. Dealing with rejection as an artist. It's different from being critiqued. It's actually being outright dismissed, rejected. And gosh, I'm sure we all have these kinds of stories. We heard some heartbreaking stories last week. People would say just the, most wounding kind of things. They have no idea what kind of impact they can have, but then also how that might elevate or change our art. Does anybody have a painful story that they can start to tell us so we can get right into it right away?
I do. I have a recent submission,
I'm so sorry,
a very
Rose,
recent submission.
Yeah.
Call for submissions for artists with disabilities at a lovely gallery, Il Museo Gallery at the Italian Culture Center. And there wasn't even a theme. It was just artists with disabilities. There wasn't even any size constraints. I mean, most calls have a theme, size constraints, something. This was just artists with disabilities. Myself and my colleague, who both graduated from Emily Carr University of Art and Design in 2015, we were both declined, and our submissions were not accepted for this call for artists with disabilities. Yeah, there you go. That's called rejection. Yep. I'm not sure exactly what they were looking for, but they weren't looking for my level of, I don't know if they were looking for the kind of artists with disabilities work that makes everybody feel sorry for people with disabilities. Or go, oh, did you paint that with your mouth? How amazing. You're so inspiring. Right. Because it was like, I mean, yeah, reject me, but what about my colleague? Her work was really good. So, and very different from mine, very different. So I just, it's something you take in stride as an artist, especially for calls for submission. You submit. Most of the time you pay to submit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then you are rejected. And the rejection, you don't even get an email or anything saying you were rejected. I applied to a call for a gallery that was calling for submissions for new artists in their gallery. And I mean, I knew a colleague of the curator, and I mean, I thought my work was pretty good. Didn't even get a rejection. Just
for those shows, though, like it's almost like in this case they should have specified what they meant by artists with disabilities. Like, do you want mouth painters and foot painters, or do you want people?
But they didn't. They wanted a broad range so they could pick and choose and so cherry pick.
More money. Sorry,
they wanted a broad range. They did not define their show requirements very well at all.
No.
I even had sent them an email saying, do you have size requirements or a theme? Like most shows do. Mm-hmm. And this was just very broad. And that's why they did it that way. So they could cherry pick. And my girlfriend said, if they didn't choose you, who do they choose? And I said, probably their friends and colleagues. Mm-hmm. So you got to take that in stride. A lot of the time, the curator of the show has people already in mind before they put the call out. Just like for people who post jobs because they're required to post the job, but they already have somebody internal for the job. So you're madly applying, hoping and praying, but really they already had somebody they wanted for that job. Yeah. And that's a part of being an artist.
But they're not required to make an open call for submissions in the art world. There's no there is legalities for that in many employment markets, right? Like to put a job on the boards. But so
exactly,
it's a very odd, money.
But also, you know, if you make a really wide call for submissions like that without very much parameters, you often get a large amount of people submitting, and then you can almost define your show after you receive your submissions.
Yeah. But that's to me, that's kind of crooked, honestly, because if 200 people apply for the show and you're only accepting 50 and you haven't specified exactly what the parameters are, then you've got $1,000, right, to go towards your organization or whatever it is. And like only it's not right.
But it's a business, Steph. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
I mean, almost all calls are paid calls now. It's all at least $25, $30, $75. And then there, a lot of the places that are doing calls for submission, I've noticed, I even mentioned to Ross, they have no proven track record. They're not telling you who they're bringing to the table. They're not telling you what they're offering you as an artist. They're just trying to solicit as many submissions as they can and make as much money as they can. And then they just feature their friends. That's how it works.
Yeah. I've seen often when they don't reach the amount of money that they need, then they'll extend the
call.
Yeah. And there's another one. I've seen one with it sounds dreadful. Westpac were doing calls for artists in Darwin, which is way over on the other side. And a lot of the Aboriginal artists, was an Aboriginal art exhibition. They're scattered around the country or in the middle of Australia in Alice Springs. This was about 5 or so years ago, and this was when the internet is really dodgy in Australia anyway, especially when you get to the middle of Australia. And I had these visions of these artists, because the Aboriginal artists sit down on the ground and they sort of paint from above. And I could just imagine them sitting there and, you know, trying to sort of get the internet to work so they could make an application.
Yeah, that's not easy. Trinidad right now, and sometimes it's very hard to make the tech work.
Right. Yeah. And I was just thinking all of this, but anyway, this particular Westpac, so then you'd have to get your painting from the middle of Australia to Darwin. That was $200. Plus you had to, and then for them to send it back to you, because I went right through it, you had to pay another $200 for the people to pack it and whatever and get it back. And I just sort of thought, these poor artists are out like $1,000 possibly, and they don't even have internet, so they can't even do it anyway.
That's tough.
And I just felt like it was a money
grab.
I thought, what's this? Anyway, I don't know.
That happened to me with a call for submissions for artists with disabilities, an international call from Japan, from an organization in Japan. And what they did was they had us ship our art at our own expense because, we were accepted into the call. Shipped my art. I thought, I'm accepted into the show. I shipped my art, and then they sent me a thing saying, you're not in the actual show. You were just in the acceptance. And now you have to pay to get your artwork back.
Oh my God.
And it didn't get in the show. And it was for artists with disabilities. And I ended up spending over $200 shipping there and shipping back for a piece of art that they didn't even show.
Wow.
And the way they had sent out the information, I showed you, you'd say, Rose is in the show. And it
Crooked is right.
It is crooked. It is, and especially taking advantage of people with disabilities. I mean, please, we already don't have any money.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be milking those people? Yes, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's rejection as an artist, I can tell you.
What I do is I look up how much it costs to go in there, and I think, $60. Okay, maybe I should just buy a lottery ticket. Maybe I have as much chance.
Yeah.
Lara, I know you have to leave a little early. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your way of dealing with rejection.
About the rejection, it's to be honest, it's affecting me also now, because when I was in Barcelona, I knew how the art scene was working, so I could manage it. When then we moved in Abu Dhabi for 2 years, and also there I managed to do so, to exhibition. And then we moved here, and at the beginning with the term, the all the stuff that I had to deal with my kids, with the new school, with everything, and here I was really alone. I started to postpone, and then finally I sent a portfolio to a gallery. It's like a group of galleries here in UK, and I haven't got any answer, and it affected me because I not having any answer. I stopped trying. I know it seems silly because I tried just once, but it was the fear to try with other galleries, and so I started to find excuses to postpone. Okay, and also now I'm dealing with this. I want to create a new series, and also if I have other series or other paintings. I've got a lot of paintings that I can show, but so I think my insecurity go to the surface, and I'm so worried to get rejected that I started to postpone and not to deal with propose my painting.
Me too.
So do you not propose? Do you not submit paintings? Do you not submit at all now to shows? Oh, that's too bad, Lara.
It's a long time that, as I said at the beginning, I couldn't feel like this because all the things that were happening give me excuses to myself.
Postpone. Yeah.
Postpone. And then when finally I've done it, I say, okay, now I have this painting. And it's a silly. Talking about it, I know that it's, as Rose said, that you have to be also brave and to deal with all this stuff also. And but I know I'm working on it, so hopefully this year.
I'm in the same boat, Lara, because I hadn't applied, I hadn't submitted to a gallery for years because of the constant rejection. I've never been accepted by any gallery at all. And then I applied to this one that I thought was a really good fit and not even getting any response at all. The only galleries that have accepted my submissions are the pay-to-play galleries. And I really feel insulted, to be honest. I mean, I've been a painter for over 40 years, and none of the non-pay-to-play galleries will even respond to me.
Yeah, sometimes I think that what we need is also connection. As I said in Barcelona, I knew how was it there, how to deal, and here everything is new, and also I'm living in a little town. is not big. Buckingham is not long. So yeah, I feel difference. In a bubble, and sooner or later I have to burst it and go out.
No, but you're right. Like you're saying, it's really important to have those connections, and it can be really difficult, but you have to make an effort to get out and get to know the people in the galleries and go to their shows and talk to the owners and spend the time to build that network and build those connections and build those relationships. And then it's not so much about about applying, and more about just being in their mind, right? Yeah, in their consciousness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because 9 out of 10 galleries nowadays don't even take any submissions anymore.
No.
And Denise, you have a really good way of doing that. With the galleries, I know that you have a really good strategy with trying to get the galleries to notice you. And I won't talk about it because it's your thing.
Yeah, but it's also
I think it's
out
really
of
smart.
necessity, because I've been burnt a couple of times. I've been in galleries that have treated me badly as an artist, and I won't go into the details, but I've had several experiences where I was happy to be working with them, and then they screwed me over. So for me, it is more important to build a relationship first, and knowing who I will be working with. And then
that's interesting, because I've tried that in Vancouver, and there's just no, most of the time they're like, if I'd go into a gallery years ago, it was somebody who was just a hired hand and said, nope, the gallery director's never here. Just leave your portfolio. We'll get back to you. There's nobody to talk to. No email.
Oh, no, but I go to the shows. I go to their openings.
Yeah,
and
I did that
I interact
for
with them.
And no one would talk to me.
I'm interacting with them on social media. I'm commenting and sharing their stuff and having conversations, and they recognize me from that. And
that's nice. It worked for you. I wish it had. I've been in Vancouver.
Well, it hasn't done anything yet. I'm just.
And they just.
It's a long-term plan. So.
And even in my case, I started off years ago. I was the photographer's assistant at all of the gallery openings and all the gallery shows in Vancouver. I was the top. I worked for one of the top photographers in Vancouver, and he knew everybody. And I met them all through him. And then when I would go back on my own, they pretended they didn't know me. They never met me. I would go back, didn't recognize me, didn't know me, never met me, never met me, never met me. I even had a top name artist in Canada who had a massive show, big gallery. I was like one of the VIP guests because I was a close friend. And I went back to try to talk to somebody, didn't recognize me, didn't remember me, wouldn't let me make an appointment.
Wow.
Very, very, where I've been living, the gatekeepers, if I'm not Indigenous, I'm not welcome in the Indigenous galleries. Well, that's understandable. But then I'm not welcome in any of the other galleries either. And they make it really clear that I should go to the Indigenous gallery. Very, very strange. And it's been odd because when I've gone outside of the city, as everyone has advised, it's much better. Almost anywhere else. So maybe there's a clique like in high school.
Maybe.
Well, it's a very small pool. I found in Vancouver.
It's a very small pool, and
there's only a handful.
It's a clique.
Yeah.
And they only deal with the same artists over and over, and I'm not friends with them. I'm not going to their dinner parties. I'm not invited.
Yeah.
So I think, as you say, there's certain closed little. As Vancouver's tiny, it's not even significant. But when you're stuck in a small place, like Cheryl talks about, when you are stuck in a small place and it's not a huge city and you don't have a lot of galleries, it starts to feel like, wow, where do I go?
Yeah.
Like even Lara said, she's in a tiny town. Like, how many options do you have in a tiny town? And if they're not interested in your work because it doesn't fit their mandate, it sort of almost can feel like, we're talking about rejection. It can feel like a dead end, but that's one of the things we've been doing as a group, is trying to explore other avenues and not end up feeling like we're in a dead end. Right?
Yeah.
I've applied for so many shows, like outdoor shows, group shows, online shows. And I've got to say that I've gotten into maybe a little more than half. It's like rejection doesn't bother me. It just doesn't, because I figure, well, I'll get there somehow if I keep just applying. Someone's got to like my work. It's weird. I don't know. Rejection is redirection, as they say.
No, but I think that's very healthy, because honestly, like Rose was saying,
I love that.
You never quite know what the curator is looking for, and the fact that you are being rejected might have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them.
Yeah, I don't care.
Because maybe they're looking for all emerging artists, or maybe they're looking for all people that are, I don't know, painting green, or whatever it may be.
Or everybody's in a region or whatever.
And you almost never get that. That's the downside I find of applying to this shit, that you almost never get feedback on
as to why
you didn't get in, because that might be helpful.
Absolutely. And there are some galleries that offer that, and it's hugely valuable.
It is. It is. And I always say, you know what, when I talk to a gallery and they feel my work doesn't fit there, then that's fine. I'd love to hear that, because I don't want to be in a place where my work is not going to sell, and they are a much better judge of that than I am. I might feel that my work fits there, but they might know their client. They probably know their clients really well, and if my work is sitting there and it's not being sold, then it's not good for either of us. So I'd rather then be rejected, and then I'll ask them, hey, do you happen to know another gallery in the region that you feel my work would fit well?
Yeah, it is more helpful when you get at least some feedback. 100%. And it doesn't feel like rejection then. It feels like a learning experience.
That's true. Have you applied to shows or galleries where you've been rejected, or has there been another form of rejection that you'd like to share with us?
Well, gosh. I don't really apply to shows. It's not something that I want to do, but I did apply to one show that I got rejected. The only show I ever applied.
Okay. So you know how it feels.
I know how that feels. I didn't know how to take it. It seemed like I what am I supposed to do? Make up a story about why they didn't want it? It's like, okay, they didn't want my work, and it was like fine, because I saw how much money it was going to cost to do it, and it was like, that was more money than I had. So I couldn't really go there, But that said, like one of you was just saying about how we're getting together for these discussions, that to be able to open up our markets and be able to talk with other people. So we send out emails, or we send out social media stuff, and there's something that's a little bit analogous to sending things out to people. Here's this picture I just worked on, and then what do we hear back from them? That could also be akin to a rejection, or you spend a lot of time crafting these messages and taking the good photograph and putting the stuff out there, and then not to hear something or anything, or crickets. This is a common thing that people talk about, or that what do they call it? Unsubscribes, right? And we really can't take it personally. The real way to look at that is, they're not the person for me. That's not the person that's interested in my work.
They're not hanging out at
but
my party.
I have collectors who are collectors of mine, who have been on my mailing list, who have unsubscribed because they don't want to get my emails, but I still want to collect my work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They just don't want the emails.
But
I communicate with them. I communicate with them through text or whatever, as opposed to email.
Well, that's nice that they still want to stay in touch with you.
Yeah. So people have all kinds of reasons to hit that unsubscribe button.
I've sent out emails, and I've never received even a query about how much is that piece or how much is that piece.
Lara, you
have more emails.
I have to go. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
Bye, Laura.
Bye, Laura.
Hope you feel better.
Feel better soon.
Yeah.
Next week.
Next week.
Okay.
Thanks, Laura.
And what about you, Cheryl? I bet have you ever applied to a show and didn't get in?
I was sort of just had an aim to, like to do an inch worth of rejections or something. I thought I could print them out and collect them.
I have a whole ream.
An inch worth.
That's great.
I could join you.
2 inches last year, 1 inch this year. Oh, I'm getting better. Oh, look at that now.
Isn't that interesting that how little guidance anybody gets, not getting into the gallery, not getting into the show. We're really just left to
just try again.
Try again. On one hand, it means that we have to go more into our own soul in order to bring something out that's even more authentic, or pour it more energetically into the work that we make.
Or even assess our own motivation, because am I making art for somebody else?
Right.
Or am I making this art because I have no choice, or I'm doing it for myself?
Yeah.
Because like for me, I can't stop. It's almost an affliction. So I would like to show and share it because it's something I'm not going to stop anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to do it when I'm rejected.
I think that there's a girl down here at Terrigal, and she has her own shop and she does quite well. And I've often seen people who do take on those big type of things often do okay when they have their own place or space that I don't know. I mean, there's a photographer here, and he built a massive gallery, and he sells photographs, these really big photographs, and they'll be about $2,000-3,000 just for a print, $5,000 for a massive print.
Yeah.
And he has done extremely well, that he has built up this massive sort of a building, this business, but with a building, and it has busloads and it has a cafe, and all from, I mean, it's incredible how some people will will build their own individual sort of businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur artist, obviously.
Yeah. His wife, apparently, she's a lot more than what he is. Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, people sort of say that.
Well, that's the secret, have the right partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, there's Julie Brayton as well, right? Who used to be with us. And she had her own storefront, which was also a gallery. So that was quite something.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can't always rely on the gatekeepers. Perhaps some people are luckier. I mean, and I suppose that's why we've done a lot of work online.
Yeah.
All of us are really trying to actually get a business online, that we all have our own websites that we're actually trying to establish. So, I mean, we've gotten rid of a lot of the gatekeepers in a way.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Well, that's what suits me, as I spent years and years just beating my head against gatekeepers, and they just kept telling me, no, sorry, your work is not relevant, it doesn't mean anything to anyone else, it's too personal, it's too subjective, nobody cares, stop painting yourself, nobody cares. And now, strangely enough, portraits of people of color are like the hottest selling things in the Miami Biennale. So
almost
maybe
everywhere.
I shouldn't have listened so assiduously to that advice, because that's what I was doing previously.
Right.
And now it's super hot. So there you go. You just got to follow your own star, I think.
It's a really hard game, isn't it? And it doesn't really matter whether you're good or whether you're bad. It's so, I don't know. It's just such a hard game.
That's the one thing that I've been noticing, is many artists who are hitting it big and successful and making sales, they started painting 1, 2, 3 years ago. I've had a bunch of people sending me links about, oh, look at how well this artist is doing this. And I look at it, and they started as a marketer and decided to be an artist. And now they're doing really, really well as an artist. Well, I'm sorry, but what you're doing well as a marketer.
Yeah.
And the people buying from you are clueless.
I do think that the marketing is really big on it.
Yeah,
it's huge.
I think that
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, that's really what the galleries used to perform. It was a marketing task in the form of being a gallery, right? Like, we have wine and cheese for you. That was the, what do we call
Hook.
that? The
The
lead
hook.
magnet, the hook.
The lead magnet.
Come-
That's right.
Come for the free
That's
wine
right.
and cheese, right?
And it used to be good.
Denise, these big shows that you do you have to go through a vetting process of, like, you have to submit your work?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Jury?
Yeah, and I'll tell you one, because I'm doing 2 in the next 3 weeks. I'm doing Art Expo New York, which is juried, which I got into, no problem. And then I'm doing Artist Project, and I've done Artist Project, which is the biggest indoor art fair in Canada. I've done it since 2016. I did 2016, 2017. Then I went to Japan. And then I came back to do the 2020 show. And then 2021 didn't happen. And then I did 2022. And at the end of the show, they always let the artists resign. You resign for the next year. You get that ability, which is great.
For your contract.
Yeah, for your contract, because you've been juried in already. And this year they changed, or last year they changed it. They were like, okay, you can resign, but we're still going to jury you in, which is fine. I mean, I understand that they want like a little bit of control. Like if it didn't work out at the show for somebody, they want to have a way to maybe like steer that a little bit. That's fine. But they do ask you for a $500 down deposit for your re-signing. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I still want to re-sign. It's a sort of, you pay $500 and that goes towards your booth fee for the next year. So it's just they're holding on to that. So I was expecting that they would jury the people that re-signed, and then you would hear that would be fine. No, they were going to wait until everybody had submitted. So they took my $500. They held on to it until they did their call to, and this show was in April. Their call to for exhibition was in November. They made their decisions early January, and then I heard I was put on the wait list. And I would not hear until...
Well, they're still holding your $500?
They were still holding my $500. And I was on the wait list. And I wouldn't hear until February 11th. Or February 15th.
For an April show?
For the April show. This was almost a year that they held on to my $500 for re-signing.
Yes, they made some money on that, eh?
And then I got on the wait list because... for whatever reason, they put me on the wait list. I don't mind being on the wait list. That's fine. I mean, and I understand the whole re-jurying process. That's also fine. I don't mind going through that. But I really felt that them holding on to my $500 was not an okay thing to do. What was my benefit of re-signing?
Exactly.
None. They made interest, or they made money on the $500 that they were sitting on.
Exactly.
And they're not going to give, you should ask for whatever interest they made.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know.
Yeah. And not just on yours, but on all the artists that they did that to, right? That's a huge lump sum, and they can just...
So yeah, sometimes it's not great. And I've been rejected to shows, and it happens, and it sucks. It really does suck when it happens, because you wanna do those shows, and you wanna it's my business, so I kind of need to do them too. But I also try to remind myself that my work sells, and I have collectors, and it sells at a certain price point. So I don't need anybody's approval or anybody's validation, or I'm not looking for that. When I apply to a show, I'm looking for a place to show my work. And if they feel that my work doesn't fit for that particular show, then fine. That should be okay. And yes, I'm still going to feel shitty about it for about a week, and then I'm going to move on. Because if I have to live my life feeling shitty about every rejection that I get, I don't have time for that shit, honestly. Yeah. And yes, I do feel shitty. I feel super shitty. for about a week, and then, and I allow myself to feel shitty because it's still, it does feel personal.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also try to remind myself, and luckily my husband is very good at talking me down from my ledge. But yeah, you have to realize that it's super subjective, and like I've proven over the years that I honestly don't need validation from anybody about my work at this point. I really don't. And that might sound super arrogant, but it is the skin that I've built, and that's just how it is.
You know what, Denise? I, as I said, I just started this, right? And I don't really care what I do, right? No, I do, and I will seek, I guess, mentorship kind of thing. But if other people don't like it, I'm just like, it's all right.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's weird. I don't care. Like and I'm a sensitive person, but when it comes to this,
yeah. Well, what I also find is with these shows, there's, especially if you talk about shows like Artist Project or Toronto Outdoor or whatever, they get like twice or maybe 3 times as many applications as they have spaces to fill. So it's competitive, and it is subjective, and you don't know what they're looking for. And there might have been this other artist who also does something architectural that's kind of similar, and this spoke more to that one juror than my work did, and that just happens. And it's also subjective. So however hard it is,
variety.
Yeah,
it also depends on the jury, right? It depends on the composition of the jury, who's on the jury. So
and one year they have this jury, and the other year they have that jury, and it might change. And then and I know it's really tough because it does feel personal, but on the other hand, it's also just life as an artist. It's what you sign up for when you start doing this job.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as being an actor.
Probably
That's
not.
right.
I've been there
That's
actually.
right.
When I moved to Toronto, I was going for auditions and stuff like that, and I would go for a lot of auditions. Rarely got anything. I got
it's
some
actually
sweet, like stuff that didn't pay, but
it is the reason I became a visual artist, because I was doing theater at the time when I was in school. I was part of a theater group, and I really wanted to go to theater school. I was like, I love doing theater. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just so much, I feel so much more confident about my visual arts than I do about my acting chops. And that's the main reason that I chose to go to art school and not to theater school.
I was also
I didn't know that about you, Denise. That's interesting.
I did drama. I was a big actor, and I was so into it. And then I got let down on stage. And one particular time, my fellow actor delivered me a line that was 7 lines later than he was supposed to. And I stood there, and I had to fill in what he'd missed to be able to give my line, or it wouldn't have made any sense, right?
I did that to someone.
I did it, but my trust in my fellow actors was destroyed, and it happened a second time where the other actors had not studied their lines, and they just left me hanging out on a limb on stage. And I decided, you know what? I could just rely on myself. I don't want to do that.
I did that where I forgot the line, and the poor frog who was playing Frog Prince just looked at me with these bulging eyes, and I'm like, and I was the witch, and so I was like, oh my gosh. We ended the scene with me walking around in circles, cackling and cackling and cackling until I heard the director say, curtain! So that's how the scene ended, with me getting a line and cackling. And
that's kind of hysterical.
So you see, acting is worse.
But
it is.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, you are your presentation. You are your artwork. You are everything. There's no, even though we take it so personally, right?
There's no buffer.
There's no buffer. Yeah.
At least now I can still hide behind my panel.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Talk to the painting, not to me.
You call it finished with your signature, with your title, with your whatever, It's not just like it's finished when I stop doing whatever this might be.
Scene.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
are we going to do a studio tour today, or do we have any time?
Do we have
Oh,
time?
what a wonderful idea. Do we have time?
Do we have time?
I
We
think
can make
have
time. If
We can make
Cheryl's
time.
up for it.
You want to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it?
We want to
Let's
see,
see.
Cheryl.
I want to ask a question about your studio too. Do you have a kitchen in your studio, or is
Yeah, I
that
like
just
the kitchen.
your kitchen?
Yep, that's my kitchen. I mean, that's in my studio.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh, that is
Nice.
So you can make a
beautiful.
mess in there.
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
kitchen.
So I've got
Kitchen.
I've got a zip mini boil, and I've got a little dishwasher, which isn't really good.
Your
And I've got
kitchen looks
chocolate-
so much
I've got
nicer than
chocolate in
mine.
here. Sorry?
Your kitchen looks so much nicer than mine. Mine is all covered in paint.
This one is too. I've got a
Oh,
wall
beautiful.
of paintings
Oh,
here.
look at this.
Just
Nice.
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Oh.
Oh, Cheryl.
I
Cheryl,
suppose that's the
How
door.
big are these? Can you go a little closer to your painting so we can see the scale of the?
Yeah. Oh,
nice.
beautiful.
What a lovely display wall in your studio.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
This is the door to the outside, and the beach is over there, but I'd have to show you. I'd have to go outside. If I come back in the other way.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Lily
boy.
ponds. They didn't snap that up.
I
Are you kidding me?
had a few people who were interested in it,
Duh.
but I decided I put 12,000 on them. I put 12,000 on it.
Put
Yeah,
15.
that's cheap.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Anyway,
15 on
and then
there.
I decided to do and I've been doing some videos on Conti. If you like on,
Yes.
So I've got a.
I reposted it as a story. So you know.
Look at that.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
That's my storyboard for my book. That was the new one. Oh, that's some of the new landscapes that I've been
Oh, that's
doing.
your Terragal. Oh,
I saw that online.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Oh, it's larger than I thought it was.
And I suppose, make you sick. There's a wall of some of my students' work.
Your students'
And
paintings. Yeah.
There's kookaburras out the back there.
Oh, beautiful, Cheryl.
Oh, wow.
So those are your students' studies?
Yeah, we were just doing hydrangeas because they're like a hemisphere, and we just do little blockouts. I mean, they're total beginners.
They
And
did a
it's
great
just-
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Look
it's
great.
just dark and light, and it's only a hemisphere, so it's not. I mean, it's simple enough if you break it down. So we go past the kitchen again. Oh, that's one of the ones, the newer ones that I've just been working on now.
Is that
Nice.
Terragal as well, Cheryl?
That's just down here at North Avoca. North Avoca and
Nice.
Terrigal are close. They've got the skillions in between them. And so these are the rocks just down here.
So
What
they're
are the
really the
skillions,
rocks you love where you live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the rocks and the rock platforms.
Yeah.
That's a lily pond. This is the other room. I don't know what sort of a room this is.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Are those more studies?
And there's another wall of students' work. Whoops.
Nice.
I think
So
I
you see students in this studio space? You see students too?
yeah.
Oh, there you
And
go.
then I've got I've got a little bathroom, and then I've got 2 bedrooms, and one of the bedrooms is a little bit larger, and I use that for my sort of studio. And then the other one, I have all canvases and all crap in it, and tables and
Nice.
We don't get to see any of those
Supplies.
things? We can't see either of those rooms?
yeah.
She wasn't prepared for us to see those. This
Yeah,
is
we
the
sort of
room for
dropped
her
this on her.
students. She's ready for the students in that part.
So that's like my sort of studio, and it's fairly bland. Oh, the bathroom. Oh, it's just early in the morning here.
So your studio, is
And
that
that's
where you're
my-
making your lily ponds, or do you make that in the larger one?
Yeah, usually I do everything in my sort of like studio here.
Okay.
Because I can because I black out the walls. I actually don't paint with a lot of light. Because it just I can't work out my light, if that makes sense. If
Oh, okay.
Tell us
Yeah.
more about that, Cheryl.
Sorry?
Tell us more about why you black out the light.
Well, because the sun changes all the colors, because you have all the light that comes in through the windows, and it just changes everything. And so I actually paint in a constant light source.
So do you use a halogen? Do you use halogen lights or LED lights? What kind of lights do you use?
Yep, daylights. Daylight mixture. And so I just sort of work in a black type of an area, just because I hate that idea that I paint and it's really bright here in the afternoon, and I come down, it's so bright, but in the morning it's really dull, and I find that there's a huge difference between the light and the dark, so I want to control it. So there you go. I know everybody else wants those bright sunny studios, and I blacken them out.
Well, I mean, that's why northern light is preferable, because it doesn't get hot and change the colors.
Do we have northern light, Rose? I guess so, because we're in the north. Is that what you mean?
Well, if your windows are northern exposure, then you're getting your northern light. Yeah, right, but if your window in your studio is southern exposure, you're getting the same effect of the light changing your colors throughout the day.
Yeah,
Cheryl's talking about.
Yep.
And here in the tropics, it's really, like Cheryl is it's very noticeable. The light really does change the colors throughout the day.
Yep. Yeah. It's huge. And because I want to make everything sort of really consistent. So I don't know whether other people, I know nobody else sort of does that, but they always think, but I find that my colors are brighter. Yeah. So this is it's probably about the size of a 2-bedroom flat. And this was the bottom floor. This is the bottom floor of our house, and it used to be the pool room, and it was the area where my son and all of his friends and all the kids used to just come and sleep over and all of that. And when Harry was 27, I said, "It's time to go, mate."
I want my studio.
That's good. Time to go, mate. That's good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That is awesome.
Well, good for you, Cheryl.
I had that dreadful feeling I was going to become one of those women who was living with, the grown-up son and the husband, that sort of image. And I also thought, that sort of thing. And we also thought it was far better for him, that he really did need to, venture
leave
out.
the nest.
And he was just made anyway. So this became my sort of space, which is nice, because I can do what I like. Well, I can like kitchen and
yeah, but you also get to teach in there, so it's a multi-use studio space, which is fabulous.
Yeah, and I've got my own fridge, and that's usually full of beer and champagne. So I mean,
okay, we're coming over now.
Priorities.
Right.
Yeah. So I have
the exhibition in your house.
It's full of chocolates and nuts and stuff. And
we're on our way, Cheryl.
Yep.
Right.
We'll just crash in your space.
That's right. Yeah.
The truth has been revealed.
Yeah, we're all going to invade Cheryl's studio.
That's the secret to your painting success.
Yes, chocolates.
Chocolates and beer and champagne.
I love that tip, Cheryl. That's how you get the consistency between your paintings when you do a series, that the colors are cohesive. Love that you gave us that tip, that we can see, no wonder when she puts them out they look so cohesive, because you're controlling the light, so you're able to get the same kind of sense of color from one painting to the next. And I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I know that's really weird, because I've always listened to everybody else and they go on about they like all the light. But I find that with most of my students, the hardest concept for them to understand is that they paint things, they don't paint the light. And here in Australia, we have this giant rock called Uluru, and everybody goes, it changes color. It doesn't change color. It's the light that changes color. It's like when you look out to the mountains, you look out at the sea, it changes color. It does not change color. It stays the same. It's the light that changes color. And I find until students can get that concept for my style of painting, I mean, Ross, for my style, until they can get the concept that they're painting the light, not things,
They just don't get it. They miss that they can't seem to get it, that they're painting the way that light reacts on something. It's fascinating, but very few of them ever get it. They still constantly paint things. They become thing painters. It's interesting.
But that's similar to portraiture, because if you're trying to paint a finger, you will never paint a finger. It will look horrible. It will look like a sausage. You have to paint the light hitting that hand.
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise, or the nose. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Don't try
the
to
shadow on
what
this
you
side.
think a nose looks like.
Yeah.
Just paint what you see.
Yeah.
Paint the light. I agree. Paint the light, the highlights and the shadows, and no, I agree.
It's very true for portraiture as well, because you can't paint the thing. You have to paint the light the way it's hitting the light. The light's hitting it.
Yeah. That's what I mean for a realistic type sort of a painter, which I am.
Representational. You want the light. Yeah.
It's all about the lights and the shadows.
Yeah. That's what makes it sing.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's
Thank
where
you,
we've
Cheryl.
been today too. Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
We've been singing our lights and our shadows, and really, gosh, this was another great episode. I learned so much about everything, like being an artist. It's like the road that we take is not for the faint of heart, is it?
No, no, it's not.
No. And that's why we'll be back again next week, so we can share whatever kind of nuggets of wisdom we might have dug up from our practices. And we want to hear from you too. And maybe you've got something you want to say that, have us cover a certain kind of topic. We've always got a lot of opinions, and we'd love to explore some more. So come back next week and hear what it is. We'll see you again. Bye, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.